Okay, so today we are going to be talking about how to make your clothes last longer. Also, pardon the crazy hair. This is what happens when you have curly hair and you don't straighten it, but you sleep on it overnight. Okay, that aside, let's dive in. So, in case you don't already know, my name is Sabrina and I am the founder of Stylish and Sustainable, a podcast and media outlet and a YouTube channel created to empower and inspire women to live more sustainably. For the best healthy and sustainable living advice, be sure to hit that subscribe button and don't forget to click the little bell circle thingy. That is going to make sure that you get notifications every time there's a new video. Okay, if you are looking to extend the life of your clothes, by the end of this video, I promise you, you are going to know how to keep your clothes nicer for longer. When you keep your clothes in great shape, you save money because you don't have to buy more stuff, and you get to enjoy those beautiful pieces for longer. I'm also going to throw in 2 life hacks about how to prepare yourself for when you get into situations where you don't expect yourself to be with clothes that you don't want to ruin. So let's go. Okay, the first, number 1, numero uno, step to keeping your clothes nice is to care for them correctly. That's right. Read the labels on those things. There is a reason they are on there. As a general rule, I would say most natural fibers, so you're talking linen, wool, hemp, are going to fare best if you wash them on cold, on very, very, very easy setting, or if you just hand wash them and lay them flat to dry. That being said, again, check the label on the piece of clothing that you're buying or wearing to make sure that you're caring for it right. If it says dry clean, for heaven's sake, take it to the dry cleaners. And if that's expensive for you, then in the future, just don't buy clothes that need to be dry cleaned. Another thing to keep in mind is if something is a delicate piece, so that would be like a bra, underwear, a lacy piece of clothing, whether that's a top or like shorts or something that have frills on them, put them in a delicates bag. This is going to reduce the likelihood of that laciness snagging on something, and it's going to keep the fiber more elastic and nicer for longer. Also, if it says to lay it flat to dry or to hang it to dry, do that. Never hang a sweater, a heavy sweater, to dry. It's going to really stretch out those shoulders. It will look saggy and weird. Pay attention to the labels. That is step number 1. Okay, step number 2 is to invest in a drying rack. And this is kind of a follow-up for the last step, and that is just to care for your clothes in the way that it says to on the label. So if it says to dry it flat, sometimes what will happen is if you just lay a piece of clothing out. Okay, so the second step is to invest in a drying rack. And I know usually I don't go out and say, go buy something unless it's something for like supporting your zero waste lifestyle, but this is going to help you to save your clothes for longer. A lot of the time when a piece of clothing says dry flat, what the problem is if you dry it completely flat, or if you roll it up in a towel and you forget about it, you can create a situation in which mold or mildew grows, and then it gets that funky smell, and it's really, really hard to get that out without using like harsh chemicals on your clothing. So get a drying rack, a super simple one that can fold up and fold down. Mine is really easy. I just set it up in my bedroom and I take it down when I'm done doing laundry. And you can lay your clothes over that, so it simulates the whole like laying flat. It's not stretching any of the clothing out, but what will happen is you'll get better airflow, so it will dry faster. The third step is if you stain your clothing, strip and soak ASAP. And I mean like instantly. So often what will happen is we will stain a piece of clothing and then we're like, oh no, I'll just kind of scrub it off a little bit, like BS a scrubbing situation, and then you just wear it the rest of the day. And the problem is that the longer that substance sits on the fiber, the more likely it is that you are not going to be able to get that thing out. So if you stain your clothing, and TMI here, that's going to be like period stuff for your underwear. That's going to be if you spill like spaghetti sauce on your white shirt, anything, coffee, wine, etc. If you get that on your clothing, take it out, run it under hot water, and soak it instantly. You might be thinking, well, how do I do that if I'm not at home and I don't have a change of clothes? Well, simple solution here. Wear clothes that you enjoy everywhere you go, but make sure that you have a change of clothing, an extra pair, a set in your car. The best part about this is that there are several different reasons why you should have an extra change of clothing in your car. For instance, what if you get stuck somewhere and it's really cold? You're going to want like an extra sweatshirt, a pair of yoga pants or jeans or whatever to change into or to layer over yourself. Also, if you stain something, you run out to your car, make sure that the change of clothing that you keep in your car is not like garbage clothing. It's something you would be okay going out in public with, that if in the worst situation you had to go to a nice dinner in, you could. So a cute pair of yoga pants and a nice sweater or something like that, keep that in your car at all times. That's the third tip. When you get a stain, strip and soak, use your extra change of clothes. Our fourth tip is kind of, again, piggybacking on our last tip, and that is the idea that you need to utilize that extra change of clothes that you keep with you also to switch out if you put yourself in situations where you need a type of clothing that you are not currently wearing. So for instance, if you go to hang out with a friend and they're like, let's do some gardening, but you have on really cute jeans that are expensive and will not handle well with the dirt, you have an extra change of clothes. Having that in your back pocket means that you can wreck those clothes if you need to, but the nice clothes that you want to wear again and again and again, you're gonna protect. So again, make sure you have that change of clothing in your car or in your bag or whatever is gonna be with you most often. Okay, here is your bonus tip. I just talked about how to set yourself up for success when you put yourself in situations you don't want to be in by having an extra pair of clothing, but what happens if you don't have that and the stain stays or the rip stays? What you do? Well, you can upcycle that piece of clothing. So for instance, I once had a white shirt. It's really cute. I think the saying that it says is sexy is compassionate, or being compassionate is sexy. And I really love that saying, and it's a comfy white t-shirt. It's really cute. I can style it up. And I got a little red stain on it and I didn't notice that it was there. And once I finally realized, it was too late. But instead, what I did, instead of tossing the shirt out because it had a red stain on it, I just dyed it. I dyed it red. And what I did is I just put it in a pot of water that I had boiled beets in, and I let it simmer really, really low for a long, long time. So that's a great way to do natural dyeing. There's a ton of different things that you can dye with naturally, and a great resource for that is Libby at the Northern Dyer on Instagram, and you can go listen to the podcast episode I did with Libby all about natural dyeing. It's a great thing to have up your sleeve in case you ever stain a piece of clothing and you need to kind of dye it to cover up that stain, or just a fun art project. The second part of this bonus tip is mending. So I know for some people, mending is way over your head. You've never sat down to a sewing machine, you've never used a thread and needle, and that's okay. There are still ways that you can upcycle a torn or ripped piece of clothing. One of the best ways to upcycle a piece of clothing that has been physically altered, so torn, ripped, is kind of coming apart, is to embrace the destruction. So I know that mending is a whole nother video, and in the future I would love to do a mending video, but I would also say embrace the destruction. You can do more intentional destruction on it. Use a cheese grater on jeans if you got a rip in your jeans and you're like, okay, so now they're not super nice, what do? Make them look like they are pre-destroyed, and that's really edgy. If you tear your t-shirt, cut off the bottom, cut off the hems, fray them, embrace the destruction, and you can take a piece of clothing and turn it into something completely different. It gets a new life by really leaning into that space instead of sitting down and trying to fix it if you don't know how. Just look at it in a creative way and make something new and edgy and cool out of it. Okay, so I just gave you a whole bunch of tips about what you need to have with you, how you can address things if you don't get the stain out, how you can deal with different drying problems, and so on and so forth. But what I want to know is, what is the most frustrating clothing problem that you've ever had? What is the most embarrassing experience you've had with a stain? Tell me about it. And were you able to fix it? I want to hear in the comments below. Also, are you interested in greening up your laundry routine? Be sure to check out my video that's going to be in the end tags on the end of the video, all about how to have a toxin-free, zero-waste laundry routine. Go do it. Also, let me know if you like this video by liking it, subscribing, and leaving a comment. If you're watching this video because you care about reducing your waste and you want to keep your clothes nicer longer, I'm assuming you also want to live a toxin-free life. That is part of living a sustainable life. That is part of rocking a healthy lifestyle. And in order to do that, I have the perfect resource for you. Not only am I a yoga teacher and sustainability expert, but I am also a certified aromatherapist. So head over to my website, livestylishandsustainable.com. It's in the description below for a free 101 course all about essential oils and how to use them in your daily life, how to eliminate the toxins, and to rock a healthy and sustainable life. And finally, I know this is a long list. Have you listened to the Stylish and Sustainable podcast? I know I mentioned the episode I did earlier with Libby from The Natural Dyer. We've got a ton of great resources for you at the Stylish and Sustainable podcast, and you can listen to that on iTunes, Spotify, or Podomatic. Thanks so much for sitting down and listening to these tips today. Please reach out. Please contact me. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next Tuesday.